On today's episode of Home Buying Made Easy, we are going to be discussing all things VA, VA loans or veteran loans, and we're ready to get started. So Rachel is here with me, and she may have some questions. She is not a veteran, but her brother is a veteran. And we get questions all the time about the VA loan and what it is and what it can be and what you can do, what you are allowed to do, what you're not allowed to do. We get those from not only veterans, but from real estate agents that may not understand the VA loan, and they're getting ready to accept an offer and they don't know the ins and outs of VA loans and want to know more information. So we're going to get started today kind of talking about that and answer any questions that may come up as it relates to that. So if you ever have any questions about a VA loan or any other type of loan, feel free to reach out to our team. We'll be glad to help any way we can. Just shoot us an email or shoot us a text, send us an email, give us a call, and we'll help you find the information that you're looking for as it relates to the loan you're looking for or even the property you're looking for.
Yes.
So,
yeah. So this episode is just going to cover VA questions and just simple VA general stuff that you run into as a VA loan expert. And so just go over different caveats or things that you've run into or things that differ with conventional versus a VA loan and what VA benefits veterans have with getting their mortgage.
Okay. Well, one of the biggest things, Rachel, that is unique to the VA loan is it is unlike conventional loans where you have to put 3% down, 5% down, or 20% down, or whatever amount you're, depending on which program you're going to go with. The VA loan does not have a minimum down payment requirement. It can be a 100% loan. And there is a misconception or misunderstanding about that. People think there's a lot of veterans that say, "Oh, I'm going to get a VA loan, and I'm just I don't have to pay anything." That is not a true statement because there are closing costs involved, which the closing costs can sometimes be, $5,000, $10,000, or $15,000. And the veteran ultimately has to pay for that, unless those are somehow built into the purchase agreement and the offer that goes over to the seller to have the seller help pay some of those closing costs. That can happen as well. So it depends on the market you're in for that, though. Sometimes sellers aren't real willing to part with their money. So that could be a problem for sure. Those are probably the two biggest differences as far as down payment. And there is a little bit more flexibility with what is allowed with a VA loan when it comes to the seller concessions, what a seller is allowed to pay for. And it's a little bit more lenient than it is in some other loan types. Let's see what else is unique about the VA loan. The VA loan also doesn't have the same requirements for credit score, doesn't have the same income requirements. The debt ratio requirements are different. So it's definitely more lenient, and it makes it an extremely popular product if you're a veteran and you have the ability to do that. So the VA loan, we've had, there's been times where the debt, you really want to keep your debt versus your income ratio as low as possible. But sometimes you have outstanding car notes and you have maybe credit card debt or school loans. And if you have those things with the VA loan, it ends up being a little bit easier because they're a little more, the underwriters are a little bit more lenient in most cases to that. There's also, for another caveat, is there is no minimum credit score There is a requirement to have a good history of credit, meaning you have to have good payments for 12 months, but there's no minimum credit score. So a lot of people worry, okay, if I have a really low credit score, maybe I can't even get a mortgage. Well, sometimes there's circumstances that happen where maybe your credit was really bad for several years, let's say in 2020 and 2021 and 2022, but then you started getting it on the right track. You got a new job, got to make more money, and now your credit is starting to go up. But maybe your credit was in the 400s. That would be really bad. But if you're in the 400s and you've been working on it and you've had good payments for a year and a half, and your credit is at 550, that doesn't mean you can't get a loan. That just means if you have good payment history for over a year and you're rebuilding your credit, that can also be seen, and underwriters can see that, and they can still provide, in many cases, provide another mortgage. So that's a unique feature about it as well.
What about like documentation that they would need? Because they need a COE, right?
A COE. Yeah. Well, this is home buying made easy, remember?
Yeah. Sorry.
So home buying made easy means we have to make it easy.
Right.
Which means COE, we can't, like COE. What is a CO?
A CO.
A CO.
What is
COE.
it? I don't know. What is a CO?
It is a certificate of occupancy. No, it's a certificate of eligibility.
Yeah.
So there you go. So a certificate of eligibility is whether or not the VA recognizes that you have completed enough service time and you have you've left the military honorably. And at that point, they issue what's called a certificate of eligibility that then translates into allowing the veteran to get a home. So that's what a COE is. And most veterans, most National Guard reservists do have some sort of a certificate of eligibility.
So do you have to be out of the military to get a loan, or can you be active duty?
You can be active duty.
Okay.
You do not have to be retired or separated. It's called separated from service. You do not have to be separated from service. You can still get a mortgage.
Yeah.
So a lot of veterans will they'll move to like every 3 years they move. It's called PCS, but another fancy acronym. But
home buying made easy.
I know, home buying made easy. So every 3 years they are up for a duty station change. Well, when they do a duty station change, there's a potential they're obviously going to have to move, and they could buy a house in one duty station, and then when they get ready to leave, they can buy a house in another duty station, and then they could rent out the previous house from their previous duty station. So that's one thing that veterans do many times as well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it. I think we've covered quite a bit. If any veterans do have any questions, they can just reach out and we can speak directly to their situation, whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of little knick-knack things, different things about the VA loan. It would be hard to kind of go over every single one of them. There's hundreds and hundreds of pages of the guidelines, and there's no way to cover everything all in one podcast episode for sure. But
you do have a home buying secrets book for veterans though, right?
Yeah, actually, right
I think it's up there. Yeah.
Yep. This is home buying made not home buying made easy. Home buying secrets for veterans. That's home buying made easy. Home buying secrets for veterans. If you want a copy of this, all you have to do is reach out to our team. You can go on Amazon and buy it if you really want to buy it. But if you reach out to our team, we'll be glad to put one in your hands. All you have to do is give us your info, and we will get this out to you free of charge, no charge to you. Or if you really want it super fast, you can get it in a day or two from Amazon. Either way, we're glad to help any way we can, and we'll see you next video.